Hey everybody, it's Mommy to Wife One. Thank you guys so much for coming back to my channel. If you clicked on this video and this is your first time, welcome to my channel. I like to do review and recaps of reality shows. I also like to talk about all things that have to do with being a mommy, being a wife, and just maybe random things that come to mind. So definitely stay a while, peruse through the channel, click on some more videos. While you're here, before you get through the rest of this video, make sure you like this video, share it, comment below. I love talking with you guys. And, click the notification bell, subscribe to the channel, do all that stuff. So, now that we got all that out the way, we are here to discuss Married at First Sight, Season 16, Episode 6, which was called You Dropped a Bomb on Me. Now, I'm not going to waste a lot of your time, so we're just going to get right to it, really. Normally, I try to save the juiciest couples for last, but we're going to start right with Gina and Clint. Let me say this. Before I start with them, let's talk about what happened last week. So last week, all the couples, they're having their time in Jamaica. They all had individual time. And this is very unique for Married at First Sight because at least in past seasons, they have had all of the girls and all the guys come together pretty much every single episode. So this is the first episode in a long time where they just had the couples by themselves having alone time. Tonight, all the couples got together, and then all the girls got together, and all the guys got together. So we're going to start with Gina and Clint. I don't think either of them are bad people. I want to preface this by saying that. I don't think Clint is a bad person. Don't even think Gina's a bad person. I think that both of them were wrong to some extent, and so I can't necessarily root for one over the other. But I will say, like I've said in past videos this season, I'm not a fan of Clint. It is something about him that I'm just like, I don't know. Just not a big fan of Clint. So if you guys remember from last week, Gina told Clint, there's no physical chemistry here. I know that's kind of a barrier, but I like you. We're getting along really well, and I'm really hoping that will grow. I don't typically like men with gingery features, with, darkish hair, reddish hair. That's not typically what I go for. And he said, no, you're right. I understand, but we are getting along, and, we'll work through it or whatever. So that was that. So when all the couples get together, they started talking about, if you guys had any disagreements with each other. And Kirsten brought up that, with Shaquille, her husband, I wasn't a fan of bald heads. So when I saw him, I was kind of thrown off, but he literally checks off every single box of what I want in a husband. So it was like, who cares about a bald head? Like, that is so not important. He's everything that I said I wanted, right? So that started the discussion about attractiveness. And that's when Gina said, yeah, Clint and I had the conversation where the physical chemistry just isn't really there. It's not like combustible, but I've been in relationships before where the physical chemistry has grown. It wasn't there from the beginning, but it did grow over time, and it was amazing. So I know that it can happen, and I'm hopeful that that'll happen because he and I get along great, and blah, blah, blah. I kind of left it at that, right? And then Clint comes and says, yeah, because, I usually like women who are athletic with the slender builds. And, it's fine. I don't have that. Basically, he was saying that's what I normally like. I don't have that, but it's cool. Now, if you guys have not watched this season of Married at First Sight, they're in Nashville, Tennessee, right, which is the South. All the women, with the exception of one, for the most part, are curvy. They have hips, they have booties, they have breasts, they have curves. They're all very curvy women. None of them are traditional, like, stick size women. Even the one that's a little on the slender side, she still isn't necessarily like skinny like you would imagine. Like, she still has some curves there, but maybe not as much as the other girls. Either way, all the girls have thickness to them in some way, shape, or form, including Clint's wife, Gina. So for him to say something like that, you could clearly see all the women had an attitude and were deeply offended, but didn't say anything in that moment, probably because they were thrown off guard, or they were waiting and kind of going by Gina's example, because Gina didn't respond in that moment either. So Clint kept saying really inappropriate things when they all got together. All the couples, mind you, all the couples meaning the husbands and the wives. Clint looked at Eris, who is married to one of the women, and he's one of the grooms, and said, Eris, have you blown Jasmine's back out yet? Who says that, right? Who says that in front of the wife, in front of all the wives? Who says that? And it was a throwback to a comment that Eris made at the bachelor party. Now, I'm not a dude, obviously. I've never been to a bachelor party, but I imagine that a bachelor party, the things said at a bachelor party should be just as sacred as the things that are said in the locker room. That's boy talk. That's for me and the boys. When we get together later on, that's a discussion we can have. You don't bring that up in front of the wives. In my opinion, that's the way it should go. And if any men watch my channel, maybe you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. Is there some kind of a bro code about, locker room talk, bathroom talk, boys not talk, that it shouldn't like travel over into the women, right? I mean, let me know if I'm wrong, but I feel like that should be a thing if it's not already a thing. So of course everybody was kind of not necessarily offended, they were just thrown off like, oh, okay. And then all the couples went horseback riding, and Clint was like, yeah, this is great because this is the only riding any of us have done this honeymoon because nobody's had sex. It's like, and I hate that for someone like him saying really crass things like that, his excuse is always going to be, oh, well, I was just being honest. That's just the way I talk. And I found out this episode that he's from New York, which I don't think I knew that before. So it kind of makes a little more sense that he is so abrasive in his speech. But at the same time, Gina's main thing with him is you need to read the room. If you see that everyone is visibly, physically uncomfortable with what you said, you either need to backtrack and apologize or just kind of put a halt to it. And I feel like, again, people use that excuse of I'm being me or this is just me as an excuse to kind of say reckless things. Yes, you can be yourself. Nobody's asking you to be something other than what you are, but there is a time and place for everything. So understand that in some circumstances, you may have to dial yourself back a little bit. That doesn't mean you're being different, doesn't mean you're not still who you are, but it does mean that you have to understand the people that you're around, understand the audience, understand the situation, understand the circumstances. You don't know these people like that, so it's not like these are your boys and your girls that you've known for years and years and years, and they're used to you, and they're like, oh, okay, well, that's just Clint. You've literally known all these people less than 7 days. So they're still getting to know you, still getting to understand your personality and your quirks and all that stuff, and you have to kind of give people a chance to catch up to that. So I understood Gina and all the women being upset because, as you can kind of tell, I'm a very curvy woman myself. And people online were also saying, well, I don't understand why people were upset because Clint's just saying his preference. What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that, but it is the delivery. And I also don't agree with the fact that Gina told him, I'm not attracted to you. I don't think that was necessary for her to say. That could have been something she kept to herself, like another person this season who has not told his wife that he's not necessarily attracted to her. I don't think it's necessary to tell your spouse that, and it's not a matter of lying to them or leading them on. It's a matter of you putting your best foot forward, believing that the expert's paired with this person for a reason, and focusing on that and focusing on getting to know that person. And through time, getting to know that person, getting to like that person, the physical attraction can grow. And I applaud the people who are giving it a chance and not letting the physical attraction lead them necessarily. And for Gina, she kind of did start all of this because she did not have to say what she said. But keep in mind, the comments that she made were still comments she made with just the two of them. The comments he made was around all of the girls, all of whom are curvy. That's kind of a big distinction that a lot of people are forgetting about. So after that conversation with all the couples and then after they went horseback riding, Gina is very quiet when she's around Clint. And some people, when they're really upset, they get really quiet and they shut down. Now, for Clint, obviously he's still getting to know Gina. He doesn't know all of her moods and all that stuff. But if Gina up to this point has been bubbly and talking and laughing and doing all this stuff, but you see that she's being really quiet, then he should have been like, hey, are you okay? What's wrong? Talk to me. He didn't press the issue. He just kind of let it go. And I don't know if he let it go because he was giving her time or because he genuinely couldn't tell that something was wrong with her. And so they finally have a discussion. Well, even before that, he meets up with all the guys and she meets up with all the girls. And the girls are like, girl, we had your back. And he's an a-hole. And we can't believe he said that girl's comment. And we were so offended and all this other stuff. Out of all the guys, which I thought was interesting, only one guy really said something to Clint and was basically like, yo, your wife is gorgeous. I don't know what's wrong with you. That comment came out of nowhere. What bothered me is that Clint kind of bypassed that, was like, oh, well, I didn't mean to hurt anybody, but the real issue is this. And mind you, his real issue with Gina, I think, is a valid concern, right? His concern or his issue is that whenever he tries to talk to her, she's always bringing up business because she owns a beauty salon. And I think she's building a new location. And so this really consuming her. So all the talk is about her business and her employees and how hard I've worked and how long this has taken. And I have to do this and I got to do this. And it's so, I understand him saying, well, I'm trying to get to know her and I can't get to know her because everything's about business. That is a very valid concern. However, he has not brought that concern to Gina. Instead, he focused on the fact that she is not athletic and not slender. Those two things have nothing to do with each other. So if your real concern is, I'm trying to get to know you on a deeper level, and all you keep talking about is your business, and that's prohibiting me from getting to know you, that is something you can actually talk to your wife about, because she may not understand that she's talking about the business so much. She's just used to talking about it. That has taken up a large part of her time. So she may not even understand that she's talking about it so much. That's a genuine conversation you guys can have, and that is something that can be fixed easily. But to have that be your problem and use that as kind of not morphing into, because he basically was kind of bypassing the comment he made about her looks and was focusing on, oh, but yeah, that's just kind of whatever, but this is a real issue. Then you shouldn't have said what you said, because you're making it clear that's not really a problem for you, but you just said it just to say it, just to be hurtful. You just said it without even thinking it would hurt anybody's feelings. So I do have a problem with that. That's a big issue for me. So when Gina finally confronts him and basically tells him, hey, I was offended. All the girls were really offended. Like, they felt so uncomfortable with your comment. What she wanted from him was for him to feel bad about hurting everybody else's feelings and give a genuine apology. This is what she wanted. I don't think she was wrong to ask for that, especially because he did offend everybody. It wasn't something that was just between the two of them. And I thought the way she was speaking to him was respectful, and it was fine. He turned it around and basically like, no, because you don't understand, because you were calling me gingery, and you don't understand how that's offensive, and blah, blah, blah. Now, granted, maybe that is an offensive term. I didn't know it was, and she didn't know it was. So she acknowledged it in that moment, like, oh, okay, well, I didn't know that was an offensive term, so I apologize for that. I wasn't aware. Like, I've used that term before. People use that term when they come to my shop. I didn't know that was an offensive term. So she heard him, acknowledged it, and she apologized. He never really apologized. He said what I hate the people say, the whole backwards apology thing. I'm sorry you felt that way. That is not a genuine apology at all. So they were kind of just going back and forth, not really getting anywhere, not yelling, not raising voices, not pointing fingers, none of that. She got frustrated and basically said, well, if you don't feel like what you said was wrong, and it doesn't seem like you do, then I think we shouldn't talk for the rest of the honeymoon. Now, she walks away, and he's like saying stuff like while she's walking away, like, oh, that's real mature. That's an adult, ladies and gentlemen, blah, 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 saying really snarky things. The snarkiness is uncalled for, so that's just kind of whatever. But I understood he's just being frustrated in that moment. So I'm kind of giving him a pass on that. I understand him being upset. However, deciding I'm just not going to talk to you the rest of the time that we're here is extremely immature. It's extremely petty. It's not giving any signs that you're ready to move forward in this manner. And again, this is the perfect time to call up an expert to say, hey, let me explain the situation and what happened. I'm really upset with him, and he doesn't really understand what I'm saying. What should I do? How should I phrase it to him so that he does understand? That would have been a perfect time to call an expert. Did not happen. She just walked away. That's never the way you handle a situation. It's one thing to be like, okay, let me sleep on this and deal with it in the morning. She did sleep on it, but she said she woke up still even more upset. But I do understand being frustrated with a conversation that's just going in circles and you're not getting anywhere. But there has to be another way to resolve it. Either you guys table it until you get home, or again, you call the experts to figure out how best to really communicate how you're feeling to this person. So obviously it's a little early because it's just week 6. I don't see them staying together. I don't think they're bad people. They just may not be the right people for each other. He is meant to kind of help her have more of a balance in her life instead of just focusing on work. He's there to bring the fun. I'm not exactly sure what she's there to bring. I think just there to kind of be his second mate and to be there to enjoy life with him and go on adventures. That's not enough for a marriage. I don't think so. So I just don't really see them staying together. I just don't see the point. I don't think it's going to work. So that's them. We're going to go to Shaquille and Kirsten. I really like the two of them together still. They took a dance hall class, which looks like so much fun. And I thought it was such a great activity for them to do together because they both like dancing and they both have really good rhythm. They were dancing at their wedding and having a good time. So I thought it was really sweet watching that. They are always holding hands. They're always huggy. They definitely have physical closeness. Still no kisses as of yet. At least as far as we know, no kisses. But I still like them together. And she said that she feels they have natural chemistry. She really wants to build on that. And then they had this conversation that I thought was really weird. She was basically saying to him, sometimes I think you joke around too much. I would like for you to be more serious sometimes. He took that as, oh, you're trying to change me, but sense of humor is who I am, and I'm about to change myself for nobody. So it sounds like she doesn't like who I am. And he kind of took it to a level that she was probably like, I wasn't saying that. What are you talking about? And I think that he is taking two pieces of evidence to come to this conclusion. The fact that she said she didn't like bald heads, and the fact that now she's saying you play too much. In his mind, he's interpreting that as, oh, she likes nothing about me. That's not the case. She never said that, but he did ask her outright, what do you like about me? And she didn't necessarily answer the question, not because she didn't have an answer, I don't think. She didn't answer the question because in that moment he was kind of badgering her and really cutting her off before she could get a full thought out. So I'm hoping that he does revisit that. And I'm sure that at some point during the season, that will be one of the exercises for different couples to have them actually write a letter to each other or write down the things that they like about each other. Because sometimes the experts will have them do something like that. And I think for them especially, it would do a lot of good. I don't feel like she's complained about him a lot and like said all the stuff that she doesn't like, but I think it would help. I mean, every man and woman wants to know that they are needed, that they're wanted, that they're liked, that they're admired, or whatever. So I'm sure they'll get to that point. I'm sure they'll get to do something like that at some point. But I still feel like they're good. I think they're going to be okay. I still have high hopes for them, and I didn't have a lot of notes for them, but I still like them together, and I love watching them dance together. I thought that was such a sweet thing to do. Dominique and McKinley. So Dominique's main issue is that McKinley complains too much, and he jokes around a lot. Now, he jokes around a lot, and it is corny, and it is kind of frustrating for her because she doesn't really get it all the way. And she says that whenever they're doing new things on the honeymoon, he's constantly complaining. He ends up doing it, but then he's constantly complaining, and she doesn't like it. And she kept saying, I'm a no BS person. I don't want excuses. I want results. If you're going to do this thing, then just do it. If you're not going to do it, then don't do it. But I'm really black and white that way. Just, whatever. He apologized to her. Well, actually, before that, she is the one whose mother signed her up for the show, 25 years old. And she was like, my mom and I talk every day. And, I haven't talked to her in a little bit, so I need to call her. And mind you, a little bit is probably like maybe 1 or 2 days. So she called her mom on the honeymoon, is giving her an update on everything. And granted, I am close to my mother now. I don't think I was as close to my mother at 25 as Dominique is. But I know for a fact, well, now my situation is different. I'm about to say I didn't call my mother on our honeymoon. The only reason I did call my mother on our honeymoon is because when my husband and I got married, our son was 4 and he was staying with my parents. So I did call to speak to my son and to check on him. I tried to check on him every day because that's our baby. But if I didn't have a child, I wasn't going to call my mother. Like, it's our honeymoon. We're supposed to be having our good old time for our honeymoon, having adventures, spending time with each other, eating and drinking way too much. I'm not supposed to be calling my mommy. Like, that isn't necessary. So I understand her closeness with her mother, but when you are married, especially when you first get married, you have to start erecting some boundaries when it comes to not necessarily how often you talk to your mother, but maybe how much you divulge to your mother. It's not always a good idea to talk freely about your marriage to your parents because they're definitely going to look at your spouse sideways, even after you guys have already solved whatever issue. They'll kind of look at your spouse sideways occasionally, and they'll also stick their nose in your business when they should not be there. The marriage is supposed to be between you and your spouse. You guys figure out your problems, figure out your issues, figure out how you're going to run your household, how you're going to run your family, all that good stuff. And if you bring your parents in it too much, especially early on, they'll feel at liberty to give their unsolicited advice, which is not good. So we'll see if that becomes an issue in the future. But that's pretty much what happened with them. She did talk to him. Well, she talked to us, the audience, and said that in attraction, she gives him a 6.5. In the romance department, she said a 3 or 4 because he just jokes too much. And they kiss occasionally, but for it to be the honeymoon, they haven't really done anything romantic. They've had a couple dinners, but even at the dinners, he's been really jokey and playing around. And so they haven't had a moment of being romantic, and I feel like men sometimes forget that. Yes, we are in paradise. We're in Jamaica. It's beautiful and all that. But I still want to feel like you are wooing me. And even though we're already married, I want to feel like you're courting me. And so far, none of the men, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2, aren't really courting their wives. So, And I think sometimes they need to kind of remember that women like that. Even after me and my husband been married almost 10 years, I still want to be courted. I still like when he calls me or texts me like, oh, baby, you still make my mouth water. Or I walk past looking at like, oh, you look really nice. Like women still want to hear that. So hopefully Matt gets it together. One thing that did bother me, he did say that it's hard for him sometimes when it comes to the complaining. Sometimes it's because he's an introvert and it's hard for him to really do all the things he's trying to do. And one of my best friends is an introvert, and so is my younger brother. And what I'll say is, I'm learning a lot about introverts and learning a lot about how it takes a lot out of them to show up, to come out to an event, to go to a family function. They have to kind of ready themselves for that kind of thing. And those things are not happening every single day. Not like a honeymoon with a wife who loves adventure, who's trying to get out and do something every single day. And so I understand the struggle that they might be for McKinley. And I hated that one thing she said was, oh, he said he's an introvert. She's like, oh, don't make excuses, just be better. And it's like, it's easy to say that when you're not an introvert, but for an introvert, sometimes it's really difficult to do things that extroverts like us take for granted. So I don't want her to be flippant about that. I hope in the future she'll kind of educate herself a little bit more and be like, oh, he's an introvert and it is hard for him. But she's also 25, so who knows? And that's pretty much all that came from them. He apologized to her. He said that he likes that she gets him out of his comfort zone. And, that's pretty much it. Nicole and Chris, I think, are still really cute. And I still think they have a really good chance. We find them cuddled in a little hammock. My only note was that I do not trust hammocks as a plus size chick. I just don't trust a hammock. I'm not about that life. We're not doing that. That's okay. She talks about how she was never a cuddler before, but he is very intent on building their emotional connection. She likes holding hands more than he likes. He likes cuddling more than she's used to, but they're definitely balancing each other out, which I like. And he was like, I don't want to have sex right now because I think it could complicate things. And I want us to build our emotional trust, our emotional intimacy. I want all of that to build naturally before we do that. And he mentioned a previous relationship where he was with this woman for, I think, a year and a half, and they only had sex a handful of times. And he's like, I never felt wanted or needed by her. And then on the flip side, he had a relationship where he only had sex and there was no emotional connection. So he was like, I want the best of both worlds with you as my wife. I want to feel wanted. I want you to feel wanted. I definitely want you, and I definitely would love to have sex with you, but I don't want to rush it. And I love how clearly Chris communicates his needs and his desires to Nicole. I love how she receives the information and she's on board, and they really seem, like I said, to complement each other really, really well, which I appreciate. And they both said apparently it's been a while since they both had sex. I don't know how long it's been. And he's insecure about satisfying her. And I put that's why a conversation is so important, because when you have a sexual partner, a new sexual partner at that, there can be a lot of insecurities and a lot of nervousness, but you're supposed to have a conversation, and it's not always a sexy conversation to have, and some people are very awkward having that conversation, but it's good sometimes to talk about what a person likes, what they don't like, what they're willing to try, what they don't want to try, so that way the first time you have sex with them isn't as awkward and is somewhat pleasing for both of you. Because going into a sexual situation sometimes without having that conversation, you're going to resort to the moves that worked on whoever you were with last, right? Or if you're a selfish lover, you're going to resort to the moves that you know are going to get you to the promised land quickest. But that doesn't mean it's going to be a pleasurable experience for you or for that other person. So I'm glad that they're talking about this stuff now in a very casual way. It doesn't seem like they're talking about sex all the time, but it seems like gradually they're having those conversations, which I really appreciate. So they went kayaking and they had a conversation about their pet peeves. And he talked about his pet peeve is their dishes in the sink. But then he turned around and said he only does laundry once a month and that he has a dog. And one of my uncles texted me on our group chat and said he must have a lot of underwear. Once a month is not a long period of time. I don't know if that's a guy thing, but it is interesting that you can do it once a month, but yet you can't have dirty dishes in the sink. So don't quite understand the balance there. It does take a shorter amount of time to wash the dishes than it does to wash clothes. I guess maybe I kind of understand. But again, she wasn't thrown off by that. She's like, okay, that's fine. Well, I wash twice a week, so I'll just take care of the laundry and we'll figure it out. So nothing big happened with them. I think not fireworks, but we'll start to see a little bit more with all the couples next week. Because next week, well, I think, yeah, next week I think they actually move in together and they visit each other's homes. So I think that's the time when we're gonna kind of see not fireworks, but we'll see a little bit more because last night's episode was a little on the, yeah, it was like just okay. Jasmine and Eris, I feel like they have a story as well. So for Jasmine and Eris, Jasmine's the beauty queen. Eris is the guy who's 39 years old and has never been in love. So she's talking to the girls and she's like, that was a huge bomb on me because now I feel this pressure as his wife to introduce him to love for the first time. And what if he never ends up loving me? And Eris, I like his comment. He was like, but on the flip side, what if you're my first love? Like either or could happen. And so I love that he is looking at the glass. I don't say he's looking at the glass as half full, but I think he's trying to help her look at the glass as half full. And so I like that he said that. I don't dislike Eris. I don't think Eris, a lot of people call him Eris the F boy. I don't think it's necessarily an F boy. I think that he is in this for the right reasons. I think he got married for the right reasons. But it's interesting. Jasmine is concerned because before Eris was talking about sex a lot, asking her sexual position and just kind of, saying, I want to have sex or whatever. He doesn't say that stuff as much anymore. And she's concerned that, wow, she's putting two and two together in her head. He's not talking about sex and he's never been in love. Does that mean he doesn't want to have sex with me ever and we're never going to be in love? And it's like those two things don't have to necessarily be connected. And with another couple, I said this, they're kind of taking information or the quote unquote red flags that they're seeing and putting all this stuff together and deciding for themselves, this is never going to work. And it's like, let's not jump the gun for any of this because we don't know. We don't know. Let's just relax. But then, one thing I did note, they got couples massages, which I love the idea of that. Eris is laying face down, right? His waves were crispy. Like, they were perfectly sculpted. I was like, okay, loved it. Loved the waves. They got me really excited to see for whatever reason. I was like, okay. And she also massaged his feet. And I put, she is way better than me. If y'all know me, and maybe you don't, I hate feet. Now, they have to be children's feet. I can tolerate only my children's feet and not even my son's anymore because my son now is 13 and he wears a size 10 in men. Now he has man feet. I don't do the men feet at all. Grown up feet, just my husband his feet cannot touch me when we're laying down, when we're having sex, at any time. I do not like feet. So the fact that she's rubbing this man's feet, I was like, you know what? Godspeed, Jasmine, because that is not me. I will never do that. I was disgusted watching her do it. I was like, absolutely not. That's just a little aside. And I did say that she's going to overthink him not pushing up on her and confuse that or combine that with him never being in love. And overthinking is a dangerous place for any man or woman to be in because you're going to create scenarios in your head that do not exist. And you're going to start operating as if the things you have thought about are actually happening when they're not. So that could be a little bit of a snafu for them. He also said that he's feeling more of a friend vibe. He's admitted this to the guys, not to her. He's feeling more of a friend vibe and not really an intimacy thing. And then he also confessed to the guys that he thinks Jasmine is a beautiful girl, but his attractiveness to her is like a 4 or 5. And I want to take a break here by saying there is a very clear distinction between being attractive and someone being attracted to you. Being attractive means acknowledging that this person looks good. They look pretty, they look handsome, they look whatever. Your attractiveness to them is what you're naturally attracted to, whatever that may be. And I think it's very clear that he's not saying that Jasmine is a 4 or 5. He's saying his attraction level to her is about a 4 or 5. So I just want to make sure we have that distinction there and make sure we're all on the same page. But he has not said this to her. And I appreciate him not saying this to her because he understands saying that could do no good. What good would that do to let her know that I made this commitment and I actually like Jasmine as a person and I'm willing to see where this goes because I want to be married and that's who the experts paired me with. So I'm willing to see what happens. And that's the attitude that you're supposed to have married at first sight anyway. And so it does kind of get on me that all these women are calling him an F-boy because of the way he feels. And it's like, he's being honest. Now, if he was saying this to Jasmine's face, then I'd have some words for him, but he's not. He's like, no, I'm not going to focus on that. I'm feeling the friend vibe, and that does have me a little worried, but I do like her, and I am in this, and I'm eager to see where this is going to go. So I'm ready to see where this is going to go. Now, for Jasmine's side, she does not know that he feels any of this, right? So I feel like for her, if she wants to get his motor running, if she, because the thing is, she's made comments that, oh, well, he doesn't talk about sex anymore, but she hasn't said herself that she's ready to have sex with him. That hasn't come out of her mouth. All she said was, well, he used to talk about sex all the time, and now he doesn't talk about it anymore, and I'm a little concerned, and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, what? But are you ready for sex? If he started talking about it again, are you ready to have that conversation? When he first mentioned, like, what's your sexual position, you shied away from us. You weren't even ready to talk about it then. So it's like I need her to understand exactly what she's asking for and exactly what she wants. If you want to have that conversation because you're ready to go to that next step, that's one thing, but she hasn't really indicated that. But I think all that does come in time. They kiss occasionally, they hold hands, they kind of cuddle together, whatever. But honestly, if you wanted to go to another level, even if it's not sex, even if it's just greater physical intimacy, I think Jasmine's going to be the one to make that move. Because I think what happens on this show often is that in the couple, normally one person is ready to move forward and the other person is not. But normally the person who isn't ready is normally the woman. So the man will typically kind of go with what she's going with and let her set the pace. But a lot of women, not all women, but a lot of women don't like being the aggressor. They want to be pursued. They want to be the quote unquote prey. But it's hard to be the prey when you're technically holding the cards of when you want the person to make a move. Now, there are things you can do to let the person know you're ready. You could start dressing a little bit differently, showing a little cleavage, maybe flashing them when you never flashed them before. Little things to let them know, hey, I'm warming up to the idea of being naked with you, or warming up to the idea of crossing that road and having sex or whatever. So there's little things Jasmine can do if she's ready for it, but she hasn't said that she is or she isn't. So I don't really know what's happening with them. I don't think Eris is a bad person, not like a lot of people I've seen online. I don't think he's a bad person at all. I think he is willing to give it a try. I think Jasmine needs to be a little more open and vocal with him about what it is she wants. And she needs to kind of figure out for herself also what she wants. So that's pretty much all that happened. Like I said, they all got together, the guys and the girls, and just kind of talked, and none of them really said anything. I know none of the women are feeling Clint, which I love because I don't really feel him either. And that's pretty much it. Oh, Eris. Okay, so Eris did say when it comes to Jasmine, one of the reasons he's not like overly attracted to her because he likes booty on a woman. And she doesn't have a big booty, but she's not flat booty. She has a little bit of a booty there, but he's used to women who are a little thicker, I guess, in that area. And it's like, you know what, she could do squats. And she could do squats and make it bigger if she wanted to. But, I'm still fine with him not telling her that. I think it's perfectly okay. But let me know what you guys think. When it comes to Gina and Clint, who do you feel is more at fault for where they are right now in their relationship? When it comes to Dominic and McKinley, do you see any hope for them? Do you feel any chemistry between them? Or does it feel like they're just kind of going through the motions? That's what it feels like to me. Do you guys think that Eris is an F-boy? Do you not like Eris for, him saying the things he said, or for him never being in love or anything? Like, let me know in the comments what you guys think. I will respond to every single one of you. Thank you guys so much for watching me, listening to me, coming with me on yet another season of this show. And I'll see you guys next week. Peace.